What is up, my fellow PC gamers? In today's video, we are taking a look at Bless Unleashed. PC port just got released today, and we are talking all about the best class for PVE content and PvP content, so you can decide which class you want to pick on your journey through the lands. Before we get started, make sure you guys and girls subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. Alright, so let's go over this. First class we're going to talk about is the Crusader class. This is mostly your basic tank class. It's actually surprisingly good for PvP. It has some great crowd control, also is great for dungeons. The only downfall to the Crusader class is it's very, very slow at doing mobs. If you're trying to grind mobs, trying to grind some XP, the Crusader class is definitely going to fall behind. It'd be probably better to do a mob with a bunch of other people as a group. But for PvP, if you are a strictly PvP person, the Crusader, definitely check out the Crusader class. Very good for PvP, top of the line. He also has self-buff abilities, which are amazing, so you could just increase your attack, stuff like that. And it's also a little bit harder to play as opposed to the other classes. All right, next up, we're going to talk about the Ranger. This is pretty much the Archer class of the game. Amazing for dungeons because the Archer, the Ranger, I refer to it as the Archer, but the Ranger has very good single target damage. So the Ranger is absolutely a must for dungeons. When you're doing dungeons, if you pick a Ranger, you're going to notice that a lot of people are going to want you to help them in their dungeon run. Compared to some of the other classes, the Ranger actually has some of the faster attack animations. Some of the other classes have really slow animations, and I mean, they just feel like a brick when they move. But the Archer actually can put out some damage pretty fast. Early game though, the Archer has some weak AoE. I mean, very, very weak AoE, like we mentioned before. Better for single target damage, but when you do get into the later game, the Archer can start to finally grind mobs solo a lot easier than early game. Overall though, the Ranger is good for PvE and good for PvP. So honestly, it's a well-rounded character that you can't necessarily go wrong with. But again, I would definitely say that the Crusader, though, is better for PvP than the Ranger. All right, the next class we have is the Mage class. Ridiculously fast attack animations. The Mage can put out a ton of damage quick. Pretty much, the Mage has the best burst damage in the game, I would say. Mage is also very easy to play. Amazing early game, literally amazing. Early game, you will be out there destroying mobs, destroying everything in your sight. The Mage is another amazing option for PvP. The Mage has some great CC, some great AoE damage, so even for PvP, another great pick. Honestly, I would say the Mage is another top one. Between the Mage and the Crusader, for PvP, it's kind of in between. All right, next up, we got the Priest. This is the healing class. Although this class doesn't necessarily just heal, this class can put out a little bit of damage, surprisingly. Because the Priest class not only can heal their party members, but they can also heal themselves. The Priest class has the highest survivability out of all of the classes because you can literally just sit there and self-heal yourself and you don't even have to worry about potions. And because of that, if you choose the Priest class, you'll notice that you will save a ton of gold. I mean, massive amounts of gold will be saved because you don't need to use HP potions, which is a huge advantage for the Priest class. Because you can literally just, boom, throw a healing orb out, walk over it, bam, you just healed yourself up. You don't have to worry about HP potions ever again. You can save tons and tons of gold for other resources that are going to be much more valuable to you. The Priest class is somewhat heavily team oriented, meaning if you're going to pick the Priest class, you definitely want to be playing with other people. Soloing as a Priest it's okay, it's not bad. He does have some decent AoE damage, can somewhat grind the mobs okay, doesn't put out enough damage to really be viable all alone. So I would definitely say, even if you could just pair up with maybe one other player, you'll definitely have better success as opposed to playing the priest class solo with no party members. When it comes to PvP though, obviously the priest is not a very good class for PvP, at least not solo. You're just going to get absolutely wrecked by other people like the Crusader, the Berserker, the Mage. I mean, they're just going to absolutely demolish you one-on-one, unfortunately. The Priest class also has slower animations. You'll notice that when you do like attacks and stuff, that the animations are relatively a lot slower compared to something like the Mage or the Archer, where they have really fast animations and they hit like quick. Whereas the priest, you'll notice it kind of feels like you're very vulnerable to get attacked back. All right, and then the last class we have is the Berserker. This is pretty much the melee damage dealing class. Very slow attack animations. You'll notice that when you do attacks, it almost feels like the weapon that the Berserker is carrying is like too heavy for him, and he's just like, like struggling to swing it around. Which it kind of can be a little bit frustrating because you're just kind of so open and vulnerable to really get countered attack before you even hit somebody. Absolutely horrendous early game. When you first start out as a Berserker, you're gonna put out like barely any damage and you're gonna probably hate yourself for picking the Berserker class. But things do get better, all right? So you just got to stick it out. Very early game, you're going to be struggling with the Berserker. Late game, not even just late game, but like mid to late game is when the Berserker absolutely dominates. So weak early game, better late game. It can hit for literally hundreds of thousands of damage once you get into those later levels and after you get into like the late 20s, late 30 levels. I mean, it absolutely hit like a freight train. There's some abilities that the Berserker has where you can hit for like 600,000 damage. I mean, just absolutely ridiculous amounts of damage. And because of that, the Berserker is the top-notch, top-tier, top dog for taking down bosses and also dungeons. Amazing for dungeons and world bosses. Overall, the Berserker class is solid for PvE, and early game PvP is gonna be frustrating if that's what you're gonna be doing. The Crusader and the Berserker, if I had to compare the Berserker to the Crusader, I would probably still pick the Crusader over the Berserker for PvP content. But I would definitely say the Berserker is very close to probably second. I would say the Berserker is just second just because it's hard. Like late game is when the Berserker shines, and it just has those slow animations, and the Berserker can get CC'd like really quick. You might be doing one of your powerful hits that may hit for like a couple 100,000 damage, but the attack animation is so slow that a mage could just come up to you and boom, CC you, stun you, completely stop your attack animation and just slaughter you. That's the downfall to the Berserker. There's just very slow animations, but really puts out a ridiculous amount of damage late game. I hope you guys and girls enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up button. I may make some more videos on this game. We'll see what happens. Maybe, maybe not. I might even stream this game. We'll see. But yeah, thank you guys and girls for watching. Stay happy, stay safe, my friends. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure